Let us continue now with what we started yesterday, which was the sugya of Heilige Shabbos clothing. We spoke yesterday about the chashivas of what it means. Like the big day kahuna, the kahanim have to change. We're zeichet to have so many kahanim this year. Baruch Hashem. Give us birchas kahanim. We feel so much better after birchas kahanim, like we had this morning. 4 kahanim lined up over here. So the kahanim had actually changed their clothing before doing the avodah. Therefore, when a Yid goes into Shabbos Kodesh, he's going into Heilige Shabbos, he's about to do the avodah of Shabbos Kodesh, it's on a high madrega, you have to wear separate clothing. And we started off, and I want to start today, because Be'emes I want to go through some of the halachas today. So we started with the Gemara. The Gemara says in Shabbos Kuf Yud Gimel, the Gemara says, bringing a posik in Novi, Shaloye malbushcha shel Shabbos k'malbushcha shel chol. That means your Shabbos clothing should absolutely not be like your weekday clothing. Which sounds like from there, everything you wear or would wear or could wear during the week should absolutely not be worn on a Shabbos Kodesh. By the way, I didn't find this anywhere. Maybe the Olam can find this, where there's a chilek between Friday night and Shabbos afternoon. For some reason, people think Shabbos afternoon, before Mincha, after Mincha, there's a different din about what you wear on Shabbos Kodesh. It's exactly the same. Shabbos goes until Shabbos Kodesh ends, whenever that is, whether you hold regular Nacht or you hold Rabbeinu Tam. That's when Shabbos ends. There's no enough giving. So like Friday night, I dress with a suit and a tie. Shabbos afternoon, you know what I'm saying? I roll out of bed, whatever comes on first. Shabbos Kodesh!
Then the average litvak is violating it.
Why?
What's the difference between a litvak a weekday after Shabbos?
Oh, very good kasha. Yankee has a gewaldige kasha. I'm not going to say exactly the words if you don't mind, because I'm just going to get some hate mail. I'm going to email saying, how can you say Azar? But the Maisa, you're having a good kasha. When the average person wears something during the week, so what's the difference in Shabbos and Yom Tov? See, if you're wearing a shtramel and a beck, by the way, I want to discuss it, we'll see by that time. Where did the whole shtramel even come from? Where did it even evolve from? Who made it up? Where did it come from? Maybe we'll get there in a minute. But before we get there, I want to tell the Olam Amodik Kaf HaChaim. The Kaf HaChaim actually brings, by the way, it's not the Kaf HaChaim, he brings the Yalkut Ruvaini. The Yalkut Ruvaini brings, it's one of the Medrashim, it's a kitzah, Kaf HaChaim brings a gewaldige Mar Mekomis. See, he says like this, he says that the way that a person dresses on Shabbos Kodesh in this world is the way that the Rabbeinu Shalom will dress him in the next world. So be careful to dress in a nice mechubadik oifen, in a nice, respectful manner, because at the end of the day, Shteit Kaf HaChaim from the Yalkut Ruvaini, that's how they're going to dress you in the next way. That, by the way, there are those that hold it's a shayla for doraisa to wear Shabbos clothing, not weekday clothing on Shabbos Kodesh. Most hold it to Drabanan, but a couple of it's very, very choshev. There is even a shita that says it's a skura for panusa. Paisai, before you go out to work and make loads and loads of money, so you could donate it back to yeshiva and give us finally a new building, make sure that you wear Shabbos clothing so that you can make good panusa. Be'ez Hashem. When does a person have to change? At what stage? So there's a Mordecai Balatanya, and Shulchan Aruch Harav, the Shulchan passing this way, the Mishmur Kaf HaChaim, that says you should basically change every item of clothing from top to bottom. Everything. When is that? That's dafka when a person washes himself, goes for a shower, goes to mikveh on Erev Shabbos, unless for some reason he's going away for Shabbos and there's no shower over there, or he wants to go to mikveh over here, it's more convenient over here, he doesn't know if there's a mikveh over there, so he has to go much earlier for Shteitzach after Chatzos, so then he does worry that maybe he's going to schwitz a bissel, so okay, here they can take separate clothing and change a bit more closer. But generally speaking, from when you have a shower, after mikvah, whatever it is, that is when a person should be changing into Shabbos clothing. Now, what is the reason why we're meant to change into Shabbos clothing? What's the purpose of it? Stam to look nicer? Okay, big day kohana, that's one pshat. The Gemara seems to go with that mahalach. But there's some Rishonim that have a different mahalach. For example, the Aruch Chaim brings The Ramah brings the Shita in Siman Shanal of Sibta Zayin. It's the Shita's Orchas Chaim, which is one of the Rishonim that says one of the main reasons why we're meant to change into Shabbos clothing is Kidei Sheyiska. So we should remember that it's Shabbos Kodesh. Once you know it's Shabbos, you're not going to do what you're doing during the week. You may not do Muktzah, you may not do other malachos because you know there's a separation. I'm wearing my Shabbos clothing. Once you're wearing your Shabbos clothing, you know you're going to be more careful in that case, and that's one of the reasons, say, the Rishonim, that a person should wear Shabbos clothing over there. Now, what should a person change? First of all, the Rishonim asked the kasha. Does it mean Shabbos clothing, it's miyuchad for Shabbos? For example, let's say a person wears t-shirts during the week, and he buys a separate t-shirt, looks exactly the same, but he buys one just for Shabbos. What do you say? Meir, what do you say? In that case, does that lemaisa mean it's miyuchad for Shabbos? Or does Shabbos clothing mean it's got to be nicer than during the week? That's the kasha the Rishonim ask. The Rishonim ask, again, it's a Ravon, it's a Shulchan Aruch Harav, it's a Lavush, Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, Chofetz Chaim, and Nezi Yisrael, many other poskim that say, no. It's not enough for it to be miyuchad for Shabbos, because you would wear that during the week. This is something that's nicer than your weekday clothing. This is something you wouldn't wear during the week. Maybe a chasana, maybe a bar mitzvah, a simcha yo, or but stam during the week. I'm not going to wear this. It's too nice. That's what Shabbos clothing means. Shabbos clothing doesn't mean this is set aside t-shirt for Shabbos. This is my shorts and whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? That's not Shabbos clothing. Shabbos clothing means that it's nicer than during the week in that case. Now, what does a person have to change? So obviously a person has to change, obviously a suit or beckett or pants and shirt and these things, all things like that. What about, for example, a belt? Do I need to have a Shabbos belt? Take my weekday belt. What's the difference? It's a belt. It's a nice, beautiful leather belt with a buckle on it. Like man of Gemina Shabbos Yontov, like it's nicer, whatever. Obviously, you can get nicer ones, but is there an Indian to get a different belt? The Kitzah Hashla brings down Ashrei Loi. Praiseworthy is he. The Heilige Shla Kodesh. If you change your belt for Shabbos Kodesh. The Chazon Ish was asked the kasha. What about yarmulke? To have a separate yarmulke for Shabbos? I'm saying what's the difference? It's the same yarmulke. Looks nicer. Like I understand a jacket, I understand pants, shoes. I get it. But yarmulke? Chazon Ish was makpid again. Al pi Shulchan Aruch Harav, al pi Mishnah Berurah, al pi Aruch HaShulchan, al pi Kaf HaChaim to change top to bottom. Everything should be different, including your yarmulke, including the Chazon Ish, your talis cotton, your tzitzis, separate. Do you have to? No, you don't have to. But is there an Inyan? Absolutely, there's an Inyan. I'm not going now, Pi Kabbalah, Darizal, 4 levushim, dafka, 4 things, white, whatever. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about changing everything. What about glasses? You have to have a separate pair of glasses for Shabbos? So there actually is the only place I found was Avnei Yashma brings down a tshuva in Chelik Hey, Nira Lahakol. You don't have to have separate glasses. It's not really called the clothing. It's not an item of clothing. Nafkamina legabe carrying on Shabbos. I know Rechaim Seven Shinalav. Whether or not you're allowed to wear glasses on Shabbos if there's no Eruv. It's not called an item of clothing. It's something that I need for my guf, for my body to be able to see. And if it's not an item of clothing, there's not a problem over there. Until when do I have to wear my Shabbos clothing? So it's interesting. It always bothered me. I don't know why. What can I tell you? It always bothered me when a guy gets undressed right after Shabbos and changes into weekday clothing. It's like, no, I need to change because Shabbos clothing was good for Shabbos. All of a sudden now not. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why it bothers me. Anyone else bothered by that? I never understood it. Like right after Shabbos, shower, get into my weekday clothing. Moshe laughing, right? Why? What's the? Why it's fresh? So Gabriel says. No, I don't want to wear Shabbos clothing during the week. It's weekday right now. But man, I shouldn't wear Shabbos clothing. Muskim, JJ, no. JJ's not muskim. Why? Why?
I feel fresh after shower.
Fresh. No, so put on different Shabbos clothing then.
But Shabbos is not Shabbos anymore.
It's not Shabbos anymore. Huh?
It's not Shabbos anymore. And you feel gross in your clothes. Gross after that beautiful shower.
20 minutes ago you didn't feel gross. You did. You were by Shalashidas. The Oilam was singing Koach Soiv. It was Gavaldik.
It's not in your head.
I hear. So I saw this, Yankala. I saw this by the Chazon Ish. I couldn't believe this. The Chazon Ish brings down, this was the Anhog of the Heilige Chazon Ish, and he writes, after Havdalah, the Chazon Ish would go into his room, he would take off his big day Shabbos, and he would wear his big day Chol, and immediately do Malava Malka in that case. Dafka to make a separation, like Gabriel said, it's not Shabbos. I know it's not Shabbos clothing. Big shaila, by the way, during the 9 days, if you're allowed to even wear your Shabbos clothing, because you're not allowed during the 9 days to wear your Shabbos clothing. Obviously on Shabbos you're allowed, but during the weekday you're not allowed. So if you have to change, no, Shabbos you can't. It's a chona that you can't do. No, by him it's still Shabbos. That's okay. If by him it's still Shabbos, it's okay. By the way, just talking about the Inyan of the Shtramelech, so I did see this. Maybe there could be there are other reasons. I don't know. But one pshat that I found from the Heilige Klausberger Rebbe brings this idea, and he says like this. He says that the reason why the Olam wore a shtramel dafka then was because there were many goyim. They came up with ideas and ways to humiliate the Yidden. So what they did is they found the tail of an animal And they figured, all right, Jews, you guys are going to wear the tail of, not even an animal, the tail of an animal you're going to wear. And they humiliated, that's what they wanted to do. Their kavanah was to humiliate the Jews, to wear the tail of an animal. Yidden, Baruch Hashem, have brains. And Yidden said, no. We're going to take this and we're going to make this a shiny geschäft. And we're going to turn it into something choshev. And they turned it into something choshev, still using the tail, but making it, Chazdei Hashem, something very affordable to most people as well. And Bekitza, that's why they turned it into something choshev. That's why, that's why they wore a shtramel in those places. And then obviously it spread to different places and different people and whatever it may be. But Al Kaponim, there's a choshev reason, and we'll end with this, that a person on Shabbos Kodesh should wear separate clothing. Have clothing for Shabbos. Kadeshi Yiska. It reminds you that it's Shabbos Kodesh. It's like the big day kahuna. When you put on your Shabbos clothing, think, I'm like the Kohen going, I'm going to do the Avodah in the Beis HaMikdash. I'm going to do the Avodah of Shabbos Kodesh. Rabbi say, there's no difference between Friday and Shabbos day, Shabbos afternoon, no nafkamina. Shabbos is Shabbos. The whole day of Shabbos, we're oisek of a time together with the Rabbeinu Shalom. We're going to wear our Shabbos clothing proudly, and Be'ez Hashem, the Shabbos clothing is going to give us all the bracha that Shabbos gives us as well. Have an amazing day. Shkoyach.